The kitchen walls felt closer than they were, as if her voice had pressed them inward. His mother was pacing, shoes clicking sharply against the tiles. Each step was a reminder of her momentum, her movement, the life she'd built by refusing to stand still. John sat at the kitchen table, hunched over, the chip mug cradled in his hands. He stared at the steam curling from it, wishing he could disappear into the air, drift somewhere she couldn't follow. "You're 30 years old," she spat, punctuating the number like a curse. A cardboard door slammed. The kind of slam meant to puncture silence and settle arguments. 3-0, and I'm still paying your rent. Still covering you when I should be enjoying my freedom. Do you know how humiliating that is for me? For our family? Her bag was to him, but John didn't need to see her face. He knew the set of her jaw, the sharpness of her eyes when she was disappointed. He lived under their weight his whole life. "You have all the education. God knows I spent hundreds of thousands sending you to the best schools money can buy." She then turned, her voice rising. "You also have experience. So why is it taking you so long to find another job? Do you think success is going to come and find you while you sulk in this kitchen? Get off your ass, John. Enough is enough." Her words resounding louder than the dishes in the sink. John pressed his lips together, afraid that if he opened them, the dam would bust and he would drown her with all the truths she didn't want to hear. She thought life was a formula. Work hard, doors open, success follows. That had been her story. She had clawed her way into boardrooms that didn't want her there and by force of will had claimed her place. But that wasn't his story, not anymore. She didn't understand what it meant to live in this version of the world where degrees collected dust while companies demanded years of experience you couldn't get without someone taking a chance. Where rejection wasn't a rare setback but a daily rhythm. Where the silence after an application submission was louder than any slammed cupboard. To her, failure looked like laziness. To me, failure feels like breathing, John thought bitterly. It's everywhere, inescapable, invisible, but heavy enough to choke. He wanted to scream it at her, that every morning he woke up early, polished his CV, sent emails, rehearsed cover letters, that every time the phone buzzed, his chest tightened with hope, only to collapse when it was just a scammer or a bank notification. That he hadn't stopped trying, but trying had started to feel like banging his head against a locked door. But how do you tell that to a woman who only knew locked doors as challenges to kick down? She believed in grit and pushing until something broke. But he had been pushing, and all that had broken was him. "I didn't raise a beggar," she said, her voice quieter now, but sharper, like a knife pressed closer. "I didn't sacrifice everything so that my son could live on his knees. Either you stand up now, or you'll find yourself out on the street. I won't carry you anymore." Then she walked away. A door closing, firm but not slammed. She never slammed doors when she was finished. She left silence behind, because silence was heavier. John stayed at the table long after. The kitchen area hummed with small noises, the fridge motor rattling, a tap dripping because she hadn't closed it all the way, the faint ringing in his ears. He felt gutted, as if she had reached inside and scooped out what little strength was left. It wasn't that he thought she was wrong. Some part of him agreed. He was stuck. He was still living like a boy instead of a man. But another part of him seethed at the unfairness. Why couldn't she see the difference between her time and his? Why couldn't she see that the world had changed? For her, 30 had meant mortgages and promotions and weddings. For him, 30 felt like a stalled engine, coughing smoke but refusing to start. Am I weak? He wondered. Or is the game rigged differently now? He rubbed his palms against his thighs, sweat slick. Maybe she was right. Maybe he was pathetic. Maybe she'd wasted her sacrifices on a son who didn't have her steel. His throat burned. He dragged himself up, moved to the laptop desk. The screen glowed cold, a cruel reminder of all the empty hours he'd wasted here. He opened his inbox without hope, another graveyard of rejection letters. But at the top, something new. One unread message. Email subject, second round interview. For a moment, he just stared, blinking as though the words might dissolve if he looked too long. Then, slowly, his heart began to race. Relief, fear, he couldn't tell. Maybe this was the crack he'd been waiting for. The first fracture in the wall. His first second round interview after attending a dozen of interviews. He leaned back, breath shuddering, a laugh bubbling under his chest, dry, disbelieving, but real. For the first time in weeks, he wasn't just drowning, he was rising.